So last weekend, I talked about the difference between happiness and joy, and the difference between ordinary bread and the Eucharist. And everyone understood perfectly, so we're just going to move right along. One of the big things was like, the difference between bread and the Eucharist is, bread is something that just fills your tummy for 10 minutes and then you're hungry again. But the Eucharist is something, as we heard in our gospel, it is so that we do not die, so that we may have eternal life. So the Eucharist is something important for us eternally. It's something that doesn't just satisfy for 15 minutes, but it is something that satisfies forever, the satisfaction for eternity. That is the key from last weekend. Now we're here this weekend, so let's change gears. Still going to be talking about the Eucharist because we're still in the midst of John 6, this big, long Eucharistic chapter. And I can't tell you how often I hear this phrase from people where we say, I just want Jesus. I want to know Jesus. I want to experience him. I want to have him in my life. How do I get Jesus? How do I get this Jesus that people and Catholics and Christians keep talking about? How do I get Jesus? It's like there's this hole in everyone's heart. And we try for years and years and years in a number of different ways to fill that hole, that void within our souls, with all these material things. You name it. I'm sure we all have our different ways of filling that, God-shaped hole within our hearts. We can try and try and try, but it's never going to satisfy us. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be eternal. It's always going to be temporary. But the Eucharist, now that is something that can fill that void. That is something that can fill that hole in our hearts that only God can fill. Because the Eucharist is from God. As we heard in the gospel, that it is the bread that came down from heaven, Jesus Christ coming down to this world to live as one of us, to give himself to us. So when we hear, I just want Jesus, I want to have him in my life, how do I get this Jesus? How do I fill my life with Jesus, with Christ? Well, we do it every Sunday. We make a line and we all come up here nice and neat. And we literally receive him. And so if we've ever thought of that as just, the thing we do on Sunday as, part of this Mass, it's so much more than that. It's not just, the thing we get to do before we get to go have donuts or get to go out on the lake or get to do the next thing. It's the reason that we are here. The Eucharist is that reason. It is that thing, that free gift that God gave each of us, that God continues to give each of us, to fill that void within our hearts. The Eucharist is food for eternal life. And it's the one thing that can get us there. It's the best thing that can get us there. Father Mike Schmitz, a priest somewhere in Minnesota, Duluth, I think. He's really big on YouTube with Ascension Presents, and he has this very, very powerful quote where he talks about John 6 in the Eucharist. He says, if you do not want the Eucharist, then you do not want Jesus. My brothers and sisters, that says a lot. And we say all the time, we want Jesus. How do we get Jesus? I want Jesus in my life. I want this. Well, that's it. The Eucharist is it. And it is the best way that we know of here on earth to get us to heaven. So when we come forward to receive communion, we're not just receiving another thing. We're not just doing what everyone else is doing. We're literally receiving Jesus Christ, his body, his blood, his soul and divinity. Everything that he has of himself, he gives to us. Because one day, he hopes that we will be with him in heaven.